João, what can wearables contribute to clinical trials?
Well, I believe wearables are now everywhere, a part of our lives, and I believe they can really bring some value to clinical trials by giving the insights about the human being. And of course, they also at the same time bring some challenges, some such as collecting the data and also the accessibility of the data. And even in some cases, we might have some several data points entry. So there are some challenges to consider. But wearables are now an excellent vehicle, I believe, to engage with patients and people to bring, of course, insights about health data and the personalization with clinical trials.
Can you name a few vital data that can contribute to the information that's required there?
Well, some generic data can actually, for example, health data with regards to sleep, physical activity, heart rate, respiratory rate, things like that, can be very useful if linked to a specific data set for one condition. So, for example, if we're talking about cancer, can we actually, for example, predict if there is any history in a family or if there is a particular health issue with that patient before we can diagnose cancer? What is very interesting is if we can use wearables to have some sort of correlation between data sets that can be used for predictivity.
So with regard to connecting data from these new sources to, for example, electronic patient records, what can we do in order to optimize that? Are we talking about standards such as FHIR?
Well, that's a very good question because there is no standard right here, right now. It's actually very difficult to benchmark. The only standard that we have now is kind of generic, more generalized data, fitness, wellness data, or clinically validated medical grade data. And we only have these two to play with. What I believe it could be very useful in the future if we have a different benchmark where we can bring the two together and have some sort of middle ground, because I believe we're missing an opportunity to use some data sets and using them in a meaningful way.